Yeah, we are going through change at the moment. I can't discuss it too much because there are different reviews are going on. But yes, we know what's been going on in the press. There's a bit of an agenda with Gordon Taylor, but let me tell you, that guy has done the most fantastic job. He is, I would say, well, Richard Scudamore stepped down now, but I mean, Richard Scudamore is a very good administrator, but Gordon is a fantastic administrator. Cliff Lloyd was. I mean, Cliff Lloyd did the deal in 1955. That's why we won the most powerful sporting associations, because the deal was done in 1955 that the PFA, well, players would receive, and the PFA would receive a share of the TV deal. But back in the day, in the handbook, every time a player was on TV, and I was one, we were entitled to receive £10.50 for being on television. But the players see it almost like intellectual property. But the players ceded the right to receive that individually to go to the PFA, so that they could develop, whether it be education grants, whether it be accidents or benevolent, so everybody would benefit. And that is what's kept the PFA together. And that is why when we threatened to go on strike on a few occasions, the players from top to bottom back the PFA because of the work that's been done from 1907. The game's about money and medals in that order. Not being cynical, but we are professional sportsmen. Professional sports people get paid for what they do. They bring a lot of pleasure to the spectators, and they should be paid accordingly. And that the PFA looks after everybody, not just the top players. Not only that, once you've been a member, you're a member for life.
Yeah.
You can maybe play 10 games, or you've never played in the first team. But once you signed in as a scholar and you sign that form to say you're a member, you're always a member, and you can come back to the PFA for support in later life. There's no question things have improved hugely from the time when I first came to England. I mean, I knew nothing about racism. Trinidad's a very cosmopolitan country. But coming to England, suddenly you're faced with a stark reality that people are going to call you. I mean, 9 years old at junior school, first day queuing up for lunch, and this lad calls me a chocolate drop. Well, I wasn't quite sure what he meant. But then when I saw, you can almost feel the atmosphere change around me and with my friends, and then you realise what it meant. I'm looking at some very young faces on this screen, but Robinson's jam, the symbol was a gollywog. It was quite incredible. But that's what I try and explain to people coming into the game and getting all this abuse from the terraces. It wasn't anything new because we were getting it on a daily basis. And in a way, football has been very kind to me. I've been lucky. I keep saying I've been lucky. Football was quite kind to me because I got shielded from a lot of that. But on a day-to-day basis, people driving past in the cars, young boys shouting out, "Go back to where you come from," calling you all the names under the sun. My brother was a spark. He did his apprenticeship. He showed me some of the stuff that goes on building sites. A lot of black lads, my friends that I knew, worked for Fords. Some of the stuff they had to put up with, all the name calling. If they reacted and broke the production line, instant sacking. Not anything to do with all the bullying aspect and the racism. So yes, things have improved, but change moves slowly. And when we see what's happened in America, I mean, when I saw that recording of George Floyd, I was absolutely horrified. I could not believe what I was seeing. And I think I went to one of the protests. You can't call it a protest. It was a gathering. It wasn't a march, but a protest in Birmingham, in the city centre. And the great thing, I mean, I'm very optimistic that this is an opportunity for significant change, because I've never seen so many black and white kids, young kids, together, all chanting the same thing. The placard, I got pictures. I got quite emotional. I was socially distancing, but the young kids didn't even bother. They were all together. You almost wanted to go and hug them, give them a hug, because I thought, here's an opportunity. I don't know if you saw one of the services for George Floyd. His name is Reverend Williams, 91 years old, was in a wheelchair. He spoke at the service. He walked with Martin Luther King, did the Selma to Montgomery March, 91 years old. And he said he's optimistic because back in the day, it was just black people marching. Now he said you've got black people, white people, Hispanic people, all across the world, all buying into that Black Lives Matter movement. So if at 91, with what he's seen with his own eyes, if he's optimistic, then I'm optimistic. And there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes. One of the great things, I mean, it's a lovely sight seeing all the players taking a knee.
Feel about, do we need a kind of Rooney rule? Not Wayne, but the other Rooney, Rooney rule for coaches in the UK.
There was a sort of they don't like calling it a Rooney rule over here, but there's sort of an English version of it in the regulations in the EFL, but it isn't working. Behind the scenes, a lot going on. Paul Elliott, the ex Chelsea and Rangers, he chairs the IAB Inclusion and Advisory Board, sits on council at the FA. People like Garth Crooks, myself, we work quite closely with him. The three of us have been doing stuff to try and encourage more coaches from an ethnic background. The FA have been very good. So Chris Powell was with Gareth Southgate for the seniors during the Bulgaria game. We proposed, is when Dan Ashworth did very well in agreeing to this. We made a proposal to Dan and Martin Glenn at the time and the AMLA to say we need to have black coaches, BAMI coaches, with the international squad. And so right away through from under 15s through to the seniors. So Michael Johnson's with the under 21s with Freud. And we want to replicate that with the women. But for the men, you need to have at least the A license because you're dealing with elite players. The women are very much trailing behind the men's journey. We want to make sure that they don't fall foul of a lot of the stuff that the men had to put up with generation after generation. So there's a lot going on behind the scenes. And I think the current climate and the narrative that's around the lack of diversity and ethnicity within our game been up. So personally, I would like to see the FA as the guardians of the game make a significant appointment of a BAMI coach with the right qualifications, like a Chris Powell, because he's been a manager, international player, great career, got his pro license, all the qualifications you need. Very, very astute guy. He's got his toe in the water being with Gareth. So I think there is movement behind the scene. Now what we need to see is that visibility. That's what we want to see, the visibility. Because if you can't see it, you can't aspire to it. Each generation of black players have seen almost their parts. It's almost like a rite of passage. Being a good player, you go into management. So currently, you've got Frank Lampard. I mean, they all no criticism to them whatsoever. But Steven Gerrard, you've got John Terry waiting in the wings, maybe, but he's got a prominent role at Aston Villa. Go back to my time, Graham Souness, Brian Robson, nobody, and the press, the media have a part to play in this because the press promote who they think is going to be the next managers. The only black player I can remember being promoted was Paul Ince. And I think he had something to do with that himself. He's not shy, Paul. But yes, we do need to have more positive action. We know we can't have positive discrimination, but the Rooney rule wouldn't work over here because they've got different laws in America. They can positively discriminate in America, which is illegal over here. But there's stuff in the background, and I hope that'll come to fruition. There's lots of jobs within the football club. You don't see many people like me in there. No. I think you can, if you're supporting a club and you're not happy with what you've seen in terms of diversity, I think you can let them know.
Well, ASA does campaign for that, for equality and diversity within Arsenal. We're always challenging Arsenal about things like, fair pay and things like that. And we will put that, we will certainly be pushing that to the club. So yeah, definitely we will take that on.
I think you're looking for opportunity and an encouragement. And not only that, you need to see the actions being taken, the structures are put in place so that you can look to get an equal opportunity. Really, in society in general, commerce has a big part to play, obviously. We know commerce and Bedford, they've got to take more responsibility in terms of looking to be more diverse, more inclusive, and to see that progression. you know, because every time you look and you see one of the big multinationals, whether it be a bank, whether it be a retailer, invariably it's white. You know, women are beginning to have more of an influence. But if you look at the FTSE 100, I couldn't tell you the numbers, but there's no representation there. We're so far behind America in terms of that, but we're not as bad as America, because, as I say, with the BLM movement, the lives seem to be so cheap over there, you know, and that's great, gain such traction. But I do think there has to be more of a focus on inclusion, diversity, and equality across the board. Football's not a silver bullet, but it's the industry I've worked in all my life. And if we can all look after the industry that we are working in and say, I think there's a chance you put it all together, you'll see significant change. We shouldn't not acknowledge the improvements that have been made. I've been here a long time now, in England, and I always feel that England is a second home. It's been very tolerant. It's been good to my family and myself, so I'll never knock it. But like everything else, we can always get better.